Now I'll address some people in the comment section. So look, I love the fact that people watch the videos and they leave comments. I can't respond to every comment all the time because it takes a lot of time to do all that writing to respond. So sometimes I'm not able to get to people. But what I do want to do is address some of the comments right now. I'll try this. We'll see how this works. If you can write, you can respond to me here. And if I can get to you writing, I'll write you. I don't always have a moment because I have to write reports, briefs, memos, blah, blah, blah. Every now and then I get a moment respond. So I'm going to try to respond this way. So if you're not familiar, I do a show called Boxing Bros. Actually, it's a show I've been doing before I decided to post on this channel. Although this is the channel I used to use, like to just watch and listen to music. I try to start my own channel, a separate channel for making these videos, but someone kept reporting my channel to get it taken down because they were a hater. So I had to use this channel because I knew for a fact that I've been paying on this channel so much in terms of my subs for YouTube Music and YouTube TV, all types of stuff, that they wouldn't dare take this channel down, even if someone reported it. So I just started recording videos on this channel. But anyways, I made this argument on Boxing Bros yesterday, and this argument that I made is about why I think it was bad matchmaking for Eddie Hearn to match Liam Perot against Subriel. I'm not going to play the entire video. You can watch the video. It's on Boxing Bros. But it's basically what I said. You made a splash signing. You sign Subriel. And you already know there's going to be pressure to new contract, new promoter, pressure to live up to the expectations of the people who have been building him up as this guy who's stopping everyone. And then you're going to put him in Puerto Rico versus a guy who is the real deal. Now he has to beat that guy too. Just a lot of pressure on one person. So I am still of the opinion that it would have been better to put Subriel in a showcase fight in Puerto Rico where he could have stopped someone, won over the Puerto Rican crowd, and put Liam Perot on the undercard so he could showcase to the Puerto Rican fans what he's capable of, and also the boxing world, and then match them up in the next fight. So that way, if Liam Perot wins, everyone knows that he is really good and he's not just some dude, some scrub, and that if he beats Matias, it doesn't mean Matias isn't good. Because the power of doing that means you get more fights in the end. Like I broke this down. It's what happens in Riyadh season. Deontay Wilder and Jang both lost during Riyadh season to Joseph Parker. But because the way they were built up, because their storylines and people want to see, people tuned in. The storyline is we want to see which one of them is going to need to retire, which one of them still got some left. Like the storylines, man, you can't underestimate the importance of a good storyline. So anyways, let's get into the comments. Matchroom got all Cayden's favorite fighters beat. This is what George wrote. You're damn right they did, George. You damn right. All right. So this is a professional troll here. B. I like B though. B's a professional troll. So I really don't get mad with B. I just respond, kind jabs with B. So B said, let me get this straight. So fighters accept the fights presented to them by Matchroom, but when they lose, it's Eddie's fault. Eddie doesn't cherry pick as much as other promoters, and his cards usually feature more competitive fights than Golden Boy or Top Rank. As fans of the sport, why are you criticizing this? Okay, I like this. Let's talk about it. So Golden Boy has Ryan Garcia. And Top Rank, they have Tyson Fury. They have everything. We've said this before. Without AJ, let's remove AJ, who's the type of superstar. He would have been a superstar with any promotional company. AJ really saves Matchroom, which is why they gave him shares in the zone. And that's why the deal AJ has is something unique, something special. Canelo is his own entity. So you saw he'll sign with the zone and Matchroom when it's convenient, and currently he's under PBC. So let's not act like. So you remove those type of superstars. Who's Eddie built? Where's Eddie's guy? In comparison to Golden Boy, in comparison to Top Rank. Where's this guy? He doesn't build like they do. And it's because of what this man just said. Eddie just throws them in. That's right. He just throws them in. No storyline, no nothing. He just, yeah, the diehards, we know how good Liam Perot is. The diehards, yeah, we understand what Subriel Matias represent. But why not make Subriel a star to the household name? And why not use Subriel's growth in popularity to show how good Liam Perot is to build up that fight? What's wrong with that? What's wrong with giving Subriel, a top 15 guy from the IBF, which is no cakewalk, a top 15 guy from the IBF in Puerto Rico, with Liam Perot fighting a top 15 guy in Puerto Rico on the undercard, them both having impressive knockouts, then making them fight each other after, or maybe doing that one more time and then making them fight each other after. So that way, when one of them loses, it's not just the other goes to obscurity, but everyone knows how good the other person is. They had built a fan base and they still can make other fights. What's wrong with doing that? That's called good business. Because remember, Eddie Hearn isn't just, he isn't just supposed to be making good fights. He's also supposed to be making money, which is what he's not doing. Which is why the zone is in the tank. Which is why the zone's losing money. Which is why the zone has to charge people $30 a month for subscriptions plus pay-per-view fees, when the whole reason they were invented was to make pay-per-view die. Instead, they had to go to the dinosaur model. And not only that, Eddie's so humble, he doesn't even diss the other promoters anymore because they're actually the ones saving his behind. He should thank Frank, because they were about to fail miserably until Frank extended him the olive branch, and he finally looked at Frank and said, you know what, OG, you know exactly what you're talking about. I'm going to stop dissing you and sit next to you. You know what, Bob Arum? I'm going to shut my young, dumb mouth. I'm going to sit next to you and learn from your 90-year-old behind instead of talking trash about you. That's what happened. And I said that about Eddie before I was a hater, but you watched it unfold. So, let's see. What else we got here? So, oh yeah, this guy is like, I believe he's trolling too. So I mess with him a little bit too. This guy United 46. I just think his name's United. I think they just add these numbers at the end. He said, Cayden, don't make stuff up to make your point. Eddie is not anyone's manager. Eddie has a duty to pay his fighters well and to get them opportunities. The manager's job to pick the right opponents. Also, Eddie did not pick Ryan Garcia. He was basically an associate. Devin and his dad made that fight. Eddie did not make Canelo fight anybody. Canelo and Reynoso decide who they fight. So this is what annoys me about this guy. This guy must be in the room. He's in the room where it happens, this guy. This guy is so connected. He knows what's going on. He knows this guy here. This dude, he's in the room. How would he know this unless he was in the room? Let's talk about fact. Here's a fact. Matchroom, the promotional company, the zone, the network. Matchroom signs the fighters to the promotional deal. The zone, the network, airs the fights. Every promotional company has a network attached to them. Top Rank, ESPN, PBC, now Amazon, formerly Fox, right? Queensberry, I think they got TNT with them right now. So why does each promotional company align themselves with a network? So they can play manager behind the scenes. And here's why. Yes, the Ali Act prevents a manager from being the promoter, but they found a way to circumvent that. This is common knowledge, by the way. If you are a real boxing fan, you already know this. But if you're a gullible person like this dude, then you would make this argument. So let's get this straight. I manage a fighter. Let's say hypothetically, right? Let's say hypothetically, I manage Liam Perot. And I go to Matchroom and I say, I want Liam Perot to fight Devin Haney. Matchroom is going to say, how much will this fight sell? What is this going to do for us? Will Matchroom profit off of this fight? If it's determined that Matchroom will not profit off of that fight, Matchroom is not going to let Liam Perot fight Devin Haney. They're going to say, sorry, Liam Perot, you can't fight Devin, right? So Liam Perot's now going to have to look at another fighter assigned to Matchroom stable. The fact that they won't allow that fight to happen shows they have power over it. Well, let's take it a step further. Let's say Liam Perot says, I want to fight Devin Haney, and Devin Haney says, I want to fight Liam Perot, right? Matchroom crunches the numbers, and Matchroom determines it's a good fight, but we won't make enough money to sustain one of these guys taking a loss. If Liam Perot takes a loss, we won't make enough money on Liam Perot moving on in the future. And if Devin takes a loss, then it will hurt us so significantly we won't make any money. So we won't profit off of this. Although both of these fighters want to fight each other, Matchroom won't approve it. So in the end, they are the manager, although they're only the promotional company because they have control of the stable, which is why 5v5 is called Frank Warren versus Eddie Hearn. Why they didn't give no love to the so-called managers of these fighters? Why not? Why is it Eddie Hearn versus Frank Warren? Why is that? Because in the end, they have veto power. And when you have veto power, you are the boss. Come on, man. Stop playing with me. This is what you don't understand. They have veto power. They stamp the fight or they veto the fight. It don't matter who you want. That's why at the end of every fight, I want to thank God. I want to thank Al Heyman. Who do you want to fight? Whoever Al wants me to fight. Oh, Subriel Matias. Go look at the post-fight press conference. Oh, do you want a rematch? Oh, I'm not in any position to call. I'm going to meet with Eddie. Oh, he's going to meet with Eddie. You think his manager doesn't want the rematch? What was the fight? I can't remember. Recently, there was a fight, and everyone wants the rematch. The manager even said he wants the rematch, and the manager's saying, "But we got to sit back and wait what the promoter's going to do." So come on, bro. Like this like elementary school don't teach you that. Wherever you from, bro. Like, come on, fam. Matchrooms, matchmakers, Kevin Rooney, not Eddie. Okay, dude. The old dude who used to train Mike Tyson, stop it. All right. So let's see. Oh, this is my man right here. I really like this dude. Mark McKee. This is my man's. Mark McKee said, I always appreciate the Boxing Bros predictions and thoughts. And I rock with you, Cayden, most of the time. Respect. But it is bad matchmaking when you pick AJ to beat Andy, or when you pick Canelo to beat Bivol, or when you pick Haney to beat Ryan, or when you pick Matias to beat Perot. The way I see it, bros, the matchmakers agree with you guys. All right, is there more? On your predictions, and that is why they made the fights. They're not perfect, just like my bros aren't. Much love, Cayden and Trill. Okay, a few things. I predict the fights that they make, right? Because they made them. But if I was in control, I would never have picked Liam Perot as Subriel's homecoming showcase fight. I've already explained what I would have done. I would have picked someone else in the top 15 who I felt would have been an easier fight for Subriel Matias, who I thought Subriel would have been able to stop. Now, I can hear people say, oh, so you want to make easy fights. I don't want to make easy fights, but I understand boxing is a business, and I don't want to ruin an ascending superstar, which is what Subriel was. Go look at the views he was generating. Go look at the fanfare he was generating. He's my new signing. So I don't want to hurt his value. I actually want to increase his value. But while increasing his value, I also want to create a foe for him. So in doing that, like WWE and all these other AEW does it, I am going to create his antithesis right before the eyes of the people. I am going to make Subriel showcase himself against a top 15 fighter, which is no cakewalk. It's still a competitive fight. And I'm going to have Liam Perot co-main against a top 15 fighter. And I'm hoping that they both win so that I can move on and do that again. So what ends up happening is people see Subriel knock someone out, they see Perot knock someone out. You're building the matchup. So by the time I make this matchup, when Perot beats Subriel, I'm not ruining Subriel's value. I'm not ruining his career. I made some money off of him. I ascended his superstar to the point people still want to see him after a loss. And I built Liam Perot up to the point where he's not just going to be seen as some dude who beat someone who's overrated, because people respect Matias and now they respect Liam from what they've seen from him on the undercards. I am creating superstars. This is where Eddie Hearn is weak. So yes, you're right. I predict the fights they make. It doesn't mean I thought they were good fights. And if I may, how can I go back to this? Hold on. You're gonna make me do some work. I'm gonna prove to you how you're wrong as well. You my mans and all, but this is another thing people don't do. They don't actually go back to look up what was said. They don't. So he makes the argument that I picked Anthony Joshua to beat Andy Ruiz, which is true. I did do that, but I also said that it wasn't a good fight. I also said that I don't think that that's a good fight for Anthony Joshua, and that I wouldn't have made it. And actually, this was back when we first started doing this show as well. It was one of our first videos. Matter of fact, it's probably easier if I just go to the oldest videos. I'm trying to find the video because it was that long ago. It was like one of the first videos we ever made on Boxing Bros. So yeah, let's go to oldest. The title of this is Andy Ruiz a quality opponent for Anthony Joshua? Now look, I haven't even seen this video. I'm just doing this on the fly because of this comment that I read. So let's take a look at this. Hold on. Ruiz is the closest thing I've seen to Tyson. Ruiz is the closest thing I've seen to Tyson coming from Mexico. No, I'm just saying I'm a fan of Mexican skill that can possibly a big, tall, stature that he is. And Deontay Wilder's gonna get him out there quick. He's gonna have this problem. A big, tall fighter of Please gave Joseph Parker the fight. No, this is the both of you are seriously underestimating Andy Ruiz. All right. Andy Ruiz gave Joseph Parker the fight of his life. Yeah. Joseph Parker became the heavyweight champion of the world, but Andy Ruiz was raw. We know that. Yeah. Andy Ruiz should be an undefeated fighter. Andy Ruiz looked like magic in his last fight. He got a big, tall fighter of similar stature to Andy Joshua out of that ring. Listen, Andy Ruiz. Fast hands, probably, arguably the fastest hands in the heavyweight division. This is what people do to sell. Listen. I'll let you guys speak uninterrupted. Andy Ruiz has arguably the fastest hands in the heavyweight division. He has great punching power. As you saw, he knocked out his last opponent, who was a quality opponent on PBC. He did that, okay? Al Heyman was afraid to let Luis Ortiz step in the ring with Anthony Joshua because he knew Anthony Joshua would wash him. He won't let Deontay Wilder step in the ring, and we all know why. But he said, you know what? I'll let Andy Ruiz fight him because I believe Andy Ruiz is a guy with the skill that can possibly take out Anthony Joshua. Andy Ruiz is coming for blood. He knows he has a chance to be the first Mexican heavyweight champion of the world. And he has the tools, the ring IQ, the ability. He should have the undefeated record. I believe he's a tougher fight than Gerald Miller. And I'm telling you right now, Andy Ruiz is a quality opponent. Okay? And if Joshua knocks him out in under 6 rounds, Joshua deserves the credit for that. But don't be surprised if Andy Ruiz goes the distance. Don't be surprised. Andy Ruiz is a quality fighter. He deserves respect, and I'm giving him nothing but respect. And Joshua deserves credit for taking on live dogs. Joshua deserves credit for taking on live fighters who actually punch back, who actually have a chance to win, and not a guy who's shot and ready to go down before he even gets touched, like his boy Malik Scott. Go review that Deontay Wilder fight versus Malik Scott. Yeah. Joshua deserves credit. Andy Ruiz deserves credit. This is a real heavyweight championship fight. Props to both fighters. Don't sleep on Ruiz. Listen, All credit to. So you heard what I said. Now, this was 5 years ago, so you can see it only has 159 views. And you can see we were even getting constructive criticism back then. They say you guys talk a lot of sense, but it's hard to hear you clearly, particularly the fella on the right, more mics, right? So everyone's saying it, mics, you know. But basically, you saw the comment. Let me pull the comment back up, right? Just real quick. The comment alluded to the fact that I picked Andy Ruiz, so like I was wrong like the matchmakers. But no, you heard what I said about Andy Ruiz. I never would have picked Andy Ruiz for Anthony Joshua. I knew Andy Ruiz was a tough fight. I knew that was a bad decision. I knew Andy Ruiz was a live dog 5 years ago. It's here documented on YouTube. That's why we started doing this. So again, I only picked the fight because the matchmakers made it. Otherwise, I would have if Cayden's the matchmaker, I never put Andy Ruiz anywhere near ring for Anthony Joshua. I knew it was a bad matchup for Anthony Joshua. Never would have done it 5 years ago. You saw everyone laughing at me. You saw my bros laughing at me. So what are you talking about? Listen, just because I picked the fights that they make doesn't mean that I think it's a good matchup. You saw that 5 years ago. I tell people all the time, go back and look at the tapes. They never go back and look at the tapes. You would have known that instead of just assuming. Bro, I knew Andy Ruiz was a bad matchup from Anthony Joshua from day one. All right, let's see. So this man, Mr. Flash You, he stated, over the years, I realized Eddie Hearn loved to put fighters in with live wires in order for the fight to be entertaining and competitive for the fans. But on the grand scheme of things, bad for business. Frank, Bob, Al Heyman, and all of them other promoters know when to match their money-making fighters with easy opponents and market them as a hard fight. With Eddie, you getting thrown in with killer after killer on the Matchroom, you make lots of money, but getting thrown in the sharks, getting thrown to the sharks. LOL. Bouts versus Avanesian is another hard fight on short notice. He is well experienced and will be hungry to get that belt off Bouts. There were lots of other fighters in the IBF top 15 that would have been easier short notice homecoming fight for Bouts, but instead got a more grizzled guy. We shall see what will be the outcome. So this person understands, this person gets it, because this person isn't glazing someone. So this will be the last one that I read. I like Andy Payne. I have respect for Andy Payne. Let's see what he says. Few points on Eddie I don't agree with from Cayden. These fighters don't have to take the fights, but they do. It's a risk reward, and Canelo must have thought he could beat Bivol. So again, no, he signed to Matchroom in the zone. He picked their best option. He picked Matchroom in the zone's best option that they could give him, not the best option for Canelo, because as we know, there were other options on PBC he could have fought. But because that wouldn't have helped Matchroom's pockets and that wouldn't have helped the zone's pockets, he wasn't allowed to fight those guys. Right? Remember, when he went for Undisputed, they had to pay Caleb Plant like $10 million to get his belt, the IBF belt. And so they ended up taking a loss on that. That's one of the things Eddie Hearn brags about, or used to brag about when he was promoting Canelo. They took a loss on Canelo because they had to pay so much to get that belt off of Caleb Plant. So again, he took the Bivol fight because Matchroom stable was weak at 168, and they had no opponents for him. But they had this guy, Dimitri Bivol, one of the best pound for pound fighters in the world at 175. Which he took that fight. And again, he was favored to win that fight. So much so, people were saying he was cherry picking. Bivol goes in there and Bivol beats him. And now everyone says, oh, Canelo's not that good. And it actually hurts Canelo. It was a low reward, high risk fight from the beginning for Canelo that he never should have been in. And he doesn't even get credit for taking the risk of fighting someone as good as Dimitri Bivol. There are people out there who believe Bivol can beat Beterbiev and are picking Bivol to beat Beterbiev. Who would pick David Benavidez to beat Beterbiev, especially after seeing his performance against Guzdak? Right? And you see Benavidez after his fight with Guzdak, he's talking about going back down to 168 because even for the bigger man, Benavidez, bigger than Canelo, 175 is different. So it wasn't like, oh, he accepted the fight, so he must have thought he could beat Bivol. That's also a lie. Fighters believe in themselves. They're willing to take risks. He was presented with an opportunity. He was sold a dream by the slick oil used car salesman, Eddie Hearn, like, you could beat Bivol, because it was in the best interest of Matchroom in the Zone, because they didn't want to pay money for the PBC fighters. Remember, that's the same thing with Joshua. They got to pay Charles Martin for his belt. Every time you go outside your promotional company and your network, you got to pay more money. So make no mistake, he was in the ring with Bivol because Bivol was an in-house fighter. All right. We can't complain that these A-side fighters are losing. If they are as good as everyone thinks they are, then they should be winning these fights. I think Wilder was expected to beat Jang and likely made captain as part of the package to bring him over to Matchroom if he wins. He probably goes in with AJ next, which would make dollars. Again, I like this guy, but there's a lot of probably and a lot of whatever. Let's talk about the facts. He says that he thinks he made Wilder the captain as part of the package. And he thinks that he said, I don't think Wilder was expected to beat Jang and was likely. So if you don't think Wilder was expected to beat Jang, how can you argue that you think it was part of the package to bring him to the Matchroom if he wins? See, here's the point. Eddie signed Deontay Wilder on a one-fight deal where he lost nothing because he had nothing invested in Deontay. And this is why I talk about the best interest of the fighters. See, Deontay Wilder backed himself into a corner because he started, of course, he had blind belief in himself like fighters do. He thought he can beat Jang. Anyone who's seen the audits that I did on Wilder, you know he had no chance of beating Jang. Fighters bet on themselves. Fighters tend to bet on themselves a lot. So he took a one-fight deal. Eddie had nothing invested in him. So if Eddie really cared about the money and wanted to make Wilder versus AJ, he would have put Wilder in there with an easy opponent that Wilder could have sparked out. And Wilder's fan base would have got riled up the same way they did when he sparked out Helenius. They would have been gassed up. It would have been better off putting Wilder in there with Francis Ngannou. Wilder and Ngannou. Maybe Wilder had a better chance of knocking out Ngannou, especially after AJ just did it. Imagine if Wilder would have knocked out Ngannou in the first round with one punch. Everyone would have been hyped again on the train. There were better ways to promote this AJ fight, bro. Why he picked Jang? Oh, for the 5v5. And who was that in the best interest of? Eddie Hearn, because Eddie Hearn needed a heavyweight he didn't give a damn about to get sparked out by Jang. Because Frank said, I'm picking Jang. And Eddie said, oh, man, all the heavyweights I care about, I don't want them in the ring with Jang. I know what I'll do. I'll get this guy, Wilder, and just use him. Again, bro, stop it, man. Y'all be wilding with this, yo. I'm telling you, y'all be so gullible. All right. If anything, this is nothing new from Eddie. He plays the villain, but puts pretty decent competitive cards. LOL. At Warrington getting wiped out against Laura. I've seen lots of Frank Warren cards, and they're usually terrible. It's all cherry picks for his prospects in competitive main event and maybe chief support staff. I know which card I would prefer to watch. Great. With all that being said, with everything you just said about Frank Warren, he went 5-0 versus Eddie Hearn in the 5v5. And before everyone acts like, oh, it was Eddie Hearn's side pieces, well, let me just say this. Daniel Dubois beating Philip Hrgovic hurt Eddie Hearn because Daniel Dubois took that IBF status from Philip Hrgovic. And Philip Hrgovic was actually the one who was in easy, which is contrary to what you're saying. Ever since that Jang fight, Philip Hrgovic has been in easy. And remember, Jang used to be with Eddie, but Jang left Eddie, end up with Frank Warren, doing much better under Frank. How many fighters has Eddie Hearn lost? Why do you think Eddie Hearn's losing his fighters? Because of that business model you're talking about. But okay, I digress. You're saying that Eddie's really putting on the good cards. Okay, good cards for you, diehard. Maybe Eddie knows. I mean, Frank knows when to match him easy, when to match him tough. And quite frankly, he schooled Eddie Hearn in that 5v5, which goes to show, although you think Eddie's matching him tough, perhaps not tough enough in terms of, or maybe Eddie's matching him too tough that his fighters are beating up each other. They got nothing left for the other stable. The other stable's waiting, putting on these fights, not letting their fighters beat each other up, waiting for Eddie's fighters. Again, it is what it is. You can prefer to watch an Eddie Hearn card. You're just saying you're a fan of Eddie Hearn, which to me is ridiculous. I'm a fan of boxing. And I'm not saying cherry pick. I'm saying build the fighter's career, build up interest in the fighter. That's what Frank Warren has done in Daniel Dubois, to the point where Daniel Dubois quit against Usyk. Daniel Dubois quit against Joe Joyce, but he still has a career. He's still been able to revive his career because Frank Warren's a good promoter. I went to a Ben Shalom card Saturday night in his big homecoming fight in the soccer stadium of the club he grew up close to and supported. It was a rematch against an opponent he had already beaten. He lost. This isn't exclusive to Eddie. The pressure is all a part of winning a strap. Getting to the top of the mountain is hard, but camping out at the top is much harder. We agree on that. And we agree there's pressure fighting at home, which is why I don't think you should add on to the pressure by giving a certain type of opponent. I think homecoming fights should be showcases. It should be an opportunity for a fighter to showcase the talents. And he's not the only one to struggle in a homecoming fight. Canelo struggled in his homecoming fight. Danny Garcia struggled when he fought in Puerto Rico. Amanda Serrano didn't even fight in Puerto Rico because the pressures or whatever. She said it was something wrong with her. I bet you she probably had a panic attack because the expectation in Puerto Rico is big. I said that was going to be the last one. Hold on, let's see. Look at this guy. I'm sorry. I promise you this is the last one. I love Cayden, but what does this Hearn stuff have to do with Matias? Matias versus Perot was a great fight. Obviously, Matias could lose. That's what makes it a great fight. Subrio would not become a superstar by fighting people nobody knows. I'm just trying to figure out when I said he should fight people nobody knows. I said he should fight someone in the top 15. If Regis Prograis was in the top 15, he could have fought Regis. I'm saying you fight. Again, I'm not going to repeat myself. You heard what I said. It's his homecoming fight. All types of pressure. You want to build a superstar. You showcase him to the public against someone in the top 15. If you think someone in the top 15 is a nobody, then I don't know what to tell you. But I'm telling you right now, Liam Perot isn't the most well-known fighter in the game either. I can see if Liam Perot was an up-and-comer with a following or something like that, then I can understand taking a risk. Liam Perot could have been Perot Liam to the people. No, it wouldn't have made much of a difference. They really didn't know who he was like that. And that's my point. You could have built up. You got two really good fighters. Why match them up against each other at this stage in the game? Why not build them up so that the world knows how good they are before you match them against each other? So anyways, that's my point. So this is me addressing some of the comments I don't always get to write because I'm busy, and in fact I feel like I took too much time on that segment. So I'm gonna let that breathe. Again, this is me reacting to the comment sections, particularly about things that I said about Eddie Hearn. The presumption is I don't like Eddie. That's not true. I like Eddie Hearn. I think Eddie Hearn does his best, but I call out what I see and what I think things are bad decisions. And also, before you assume I said something or before you assume something, you probably should do some research and you probably should look into things. Again, I think Eddie Hearn is one of the worst matchmakers in boxing. And if it's Kevin Rooney who's picking his fights, Kevin need to be fired. I don't even know why you would have old Kevin Rooney picking those fights right now anyway. But anyways, let me know what you think in the comment section. I'll get a look at them. I'll respond to them either through writing or maybe I'll make another comment section commenting on the comments. I'm out. Peace.